KCAA.com. KCAA.
Live and in color from the NBC News radio broadcasting studios of KCAA, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM, located in beautiful Southern California, and in parallel from the Turfs Up radio studio in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Thanks for tuning in to the Water Zone show this evening.
All right. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending where everybody is in this wonderful world. Hope everybody's had a great day, evening, afternoon, whatever you're enjoying. And I'm Rob Starr, actually, I'm here with Miss Chris Austin and Miss Tara Malali, who's our new co-host. She was, as we mentioned, she works for United Water up in the northern section of California, and she's off away on business today, but she'll be back next week. So we'll be happy to have that. We have some great shows coming up. We have some great guests tonight. Something a little unusual tonight, which I'll tell you. And I do want to make a quick announcement because we're a member of the Irrigation Association, and they're having a irrigation show at Education Week. And so the irrigation industry is heading to the Big Easy, which is New Orleans, the week of December 8th through 11th. And thousands of irrigation professionals will gather in New Orleans for You Can't Miss It industry event of the year. It's unbelievable. The High Energy Trade Show is collated with the Groundwater Week, giving attendees even more exhibits and connections to explore. And you can register at irrigationshow.org by October 24th to lock in the early bird savings. And what's really good, you don't have to be a member of the association. You don't have to be a landscape contractor or a professional or a designer or any of that. Even if you're a residential homeowner or a student or something and you want to know more about irrigation and water, it's a great show to come and you meet all the technical companies, all the geniuses they bring out, and they help you along with a lot of information that's good for you. So anyway, I always want to mention that, and part of that is because they're a sponsor to us as well for the last 2 years, so we're very proud of that. Anyway, Chris Austin, how are you doing today? And you're up in Reno, I understand.
Yep, I'm over the hill today. Always, but now
are you gambling?
Well, figuratively and physically, but yeah.
Are you rambling and gambling?
Oh, well, nah. I grew up in Reno, so when you grow up around gambling, you're not really that interested in it. So.
Only if you
Besides, it's all different now. It's like, it's really boring now. Like, now you don't even use coins. Like, what's the point of a slot machine if you just press a button? That's all you do.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they just want your credit card.
Yeah, I know. So, so I'm up here in Reno. California just had a big bunch of rain. We had a lot of rain in Chico. I think they had a lot of rain in Los Angeles.
Yep.
I guess Burbank broke a record with 2.28 inches of rain. So it was a pretty robust rainfall. Kind of helps out with our fire danger, at least for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So had some big rain there in Arizona too, huh?
Oh yeah, we had a big microburst, they call it, in the city it was in, just south of Phoenix.
Tempe or Tucson?
Tempe. I don't know why I couldn't think of Tempe. Yeah, they had a big microburst. Also, the Phoenix Zoo got hit. A bunch of trees were uprooted. No animals were hurt. No people were hurt, but it's all dirty. They closed it today. They said they lost about $300,000 in business, and they're hoping to be open tomorrow. So it was pretty nasty, what they showed on television about that. I just caught that a few minutes ago before I came here to the studio. So anyway, it was pretty bad. And but you wrote a lot about what's going on with the wildfire. Plus, rain brings a lot of risks and things of that. Tell us what you're hearing.
Well, the New York Times has a big story about how they're they're putting transducers up in remote places along these rivers so they can kind of check in on these debris flows. Once the fire comes through and it burns all the vegetation and the trees and stuff, there's just a lot of exposed fire debris and charred landscape, not a lot of things to hold it there, to hold the soil on the hill. And sometimes with these wildfires, they can create a condition with the soil where they actually say the soil is hydrophobic, or it won't take any rain. So the rain just flows off. And these debris flows are really quite dangerous. And apparently they can flow, they can affect people hundreds of miles away from where the wildfire actually is. They kind of seem to really have a long tail in some places where they can really get down and affect a lot of people. So they're they've been studying these debris flows and trying to see, what we can do about them. So right now they're just installing a lot of monitoring equipment to see, where this is and to learn more about it. And, they got to kind of figure out how to identify strategies to sort of mitigate these threats. So that's what they're working on.
What about all the contamination due to the fire retardant stuff that they put down with planes and helicopters and stuff? I mean, that's got to be still hanging around.
Yeah, and all that is washing off. And they've been doing a lot of studies on fire retardants. And the fire retardants have a lot of, sort of nasty chemicals in them. The problem is that we can't afford not to use them, that we need those fire retardants when we get into these big fires. But there's a cost for flopping that stuff down on the landscape.
Well, especially near the beach. I mean, and any lakes or rivers that are around. But all those homes on the Pacific Palisades that are right on the beach itself. I mean, there's got to be stuff on them that's just going into the water. I mean, they still haven't cleaned. I mean, I'm sure they cleaned up from what I've seen on television. They've cleaned up a lot of stuff, but that's not the majority of the big lot stuff. There's tons of it.
Oh, yeah. And, they did a lot of cleaning up of the lot. The Army Corps was in, and they scraped off, I think, the top 5 inches or so of soil, and that's how they cleaned up these lots, is they just scraped off the topsoil, put it in a truck, and took it away. But they've done a lot of testing on these sites, and there still seems to be contamination that probably went deeper than just what they scraped off the top of these lots.
Yeah.
It's a real problem. FEMA did not do any testing on the lot, so people said, okay, we will. And so, they're the ones that are reporting the contamination. I think the problem is it's just too much contamination. I think it's very difficult to clean up those lots, especially so many in such as intense burning, and all the stuff in burning up. When a house burns up, that's very much different than if a forest burns up.
Right.
You have a lot more chemicals, paints and cars and TVs and mattresses and clothing and, drywall, and all that stuff has all been burnt up.
Yep.
And, everything goes somewhere.
Yeah.
Just because you don't see it anymore doesn't mean that the parts of it aren't still around.
I would hate to see people rebuild, and because some of them don't even have insurance because the insurance companies just stopped or charged such a ridiculous amount of money. A lot of people didn't have insurance. And even if they did and they rebuilt it, and, God forbid they have little or older kids, and we find out 5 to 10 years later that they're all sick from something, because it wasn't proper. I'd be nervous about rebuilding myself.
Well,
if
yeah,
it was me.
And it wouldn't want to be growing a vegetable garden.
No. Well,
I would feel good about that.
Well, just think if you live on one of those streets where all the houses burnt down, okay, and you decide you're going to rebuild, and the people around you are not going to rebuild. So what's going to happen with all the rubble? Who's going to clean that up?
Well, but all those houses in the Palisades and in the Eaton, though they will get rebuilt. They're zoned for housing, especially in the Palisades. I have no fears that they won't be building back. The problem is that even in the area like the Palisades, which is a very expensive area, there were people and houses out there before Southern California got so crazy expensive. And there's people that bought a house, when they could afford to, maybe 30, 40 years ago,
Yep.
and they had that house, and they stayed in that house, and those are the folks that are, going to have those kinds of residences are not likely to be rebuilt in the Palisades. They're all going to be now really nice houses. I'm sure. The little guys have been burnt out, and there's also a trailer park there. A trailer park is generally lower income and seniors that live in those types of places, and that trailer park's been been burnt out, and nothing is really going on to replace that type of housing there. Maybe that will with time, but those are the folks that are unfortunately going to be priced out. And the Eaton fire, that was a nice middle class neighborhood, an affordable section of LA that's been lost, and we'll see how that's going to occur. But a lot of people have been buying up those lots there, and it's just I don't know. I don't have much optimism that it's going to return to an area that is affordable again. More affordable. It's going to be all shiny new houses. So we'll see how all that goes. Heart goes out to people who lost their home.
It was so devastating watching that for weeks on television and just seeing the intense heat and fire, even with the reporters that were 2 blocks away, how hot they were getting. I mean, it was unbelievable. Well, you and I talked, and Chris Davey talked about the old Farmer's Almanac. And they're always known for their long-range forecasts, just like Nostradamus. But they're claiming that we're in for a warmer and drier winter. What do you say to that?
Yeah. Yeah, and I that sort of jives with what the National Weather Service is sort of looking at. There's a chance. The farmers, it's like I think that we might have a more active fall, but then I think once we get into January, we're probably going to have those really dry months, and that sort of seems to be what they all seem to be saying. According to the Old Farmer's Almanac, the stormiest periods are expected in late November, mid-January, and late February. So we'll see how that all goes. It's kind of hard to predict. We're not always correct.
No, I mean, but I know we're better. I know we're better than 50 years ago, with all the technology. But it's still kind of a hard thing. I'm also sad. Go ahead.
Well, just the ability to forecast we still, even with all the advancements, still getting an accurate forecast, more than 10 days into the future is still challenging. It's just it has not been easy to figure that part out. they keep trying. They're trying to. What they really would like to be able to know is they would like to be able to know in the summertime if the winter is going to be wet or dry.
Yeah.
To know a season ahead what is coming. But that has been very elusive. They try, and they do these outlooks, and then at the end of the year, they look at their outlooks, what they predicted, and they measure that against what actually happened, and they try to figure out how to be better at it. But it remains elusive. It's a big challenge.
Well, that document's been around for a long time, the Farmer's Almanac, and you think you had 100 years or so to fix it up a little bit, but there's some more.
All sorts of things.
No, you're right.
Acorns falling and
right.
skin on onions and
yep.
Yeah. There's a number of ways people try to predict this.
Yeah, I read that every night before I go to sleep. It calms me down. to do that. Another issue I've seen that you put into your stuff is that California farmers fear for the future of a Lifeline program if the feds cut it to the end, and that's going to hurt a lot of their how they're going to sell their crops. What are they going to do? How do you think that's going to shake out?
Yeah, this is kind of it's been a nice program that has really helped out the small farmers. A program to take their produce and put it into food banks. So it's sort of a win-win. It helps the farmers stay in business, and it helps people who need food. But this program is slated to end. They tried to kill this program back earlier in the year, and the court ruled that they couldn't. So they're letting it finish out to the end, but then they're not going to renew this program. And so, we'll see. A lot of things have been eliminated, a lot of things across the board, all over the place. And, we'll see how this all works out for everyone. It's a challenge.
Like I always say, farmers are the backbone of this country, and I just feel so bad. I had a call today from Sina Kerr, and she's the former Arizona state senator, and we were talking, and she owns a ranch, and she has a farm, and she has a good business doing that. But we're going to have her on the show in I think the end of November, beginning of December, because we're booked up till then, and that's what we're going to talk about. How is that affecting her? And because that's, we got to have food. We got to have food. We got to have people to grow food, and we got to have water to grow the food. And
we pick the food.
Yeah,
that's another big issue. Not necessarily a water issue, but a very big issue.
No, you're right.
The farmers. Yeah.
It touches everything. I mean, it's more like you said. It's more than just planting something and putting it out of the ground. And you got to have people to do it and watch it and know it. And then sell it and market it, and you have to have customers for it. And I know the U.S. subsidizes a lot of stuff, and I don't know what's going to happen. We're on our 16th day of the shutdown, I believe, or somewhere close to that. And I don't want to listen to that every day on the news. It really depresses me when I hear that. Just get together in a room and lock them in there, and they should. The last thing I'll say about political stuff, they still get paid. The legislatures get paid, while military and hospitals and all these other places don't get paid. And the medical stuff, and that's, I don't know. That's sad. They're all adults. They should get in the room, lock the door, and they don't come out, and they don't get paid until they come up with a solution. Got to happen. And we'll see. Obviously, we're going to find out how good that's going to be or not going to be. But I just think it's ridiculous on all sides. Both sides. I just, there's too much at stake here to play games with that. So anyway. River revitalization, is that getting better, I hear, in California?
Oh, yeah, we have a lot of projects that we're out working on the landscape. And let's see, let me flip to this story which you are referencing. Sorry, it's not one of the ones I brought up.
No. It's amazing, and for our listeners, I belong and subscribe to Maven's Notebook, which she is the head lady of it. And I'll tell you, we get the news. I don't know how you get the news faster than everybody else does. You amaze me on that. And but I certainly enjoy it. Chris Davey does it, and Tara loves it as well. And a lot of listeners like it too. I mean, as I tell everybody as you're signing off for you, I always say, go sign up. It's free, but you can also be a sponsor. Give a little bit to help you going and keep it going. And you do an amazing amount of work, and I've never seen anybody like that before. So I admire you a lot. Let me just put it that way. And I like you because you used to be a recording engineer, so we can talk a lot about that. We have a lot in common on that. But
yeah, like I tell my kids, I used to say, "Oh, your mama used to be so cool." You just don't know.
Yeah, or the famous thing, "I'll fix it in the mix." Don't worry about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so there's been a lot of river restoration. River Partners has restored more than 20,000 acres of riverways, and they've been removing the concrete riprap from the sides of levees so that it can, become habitat again. And they've also been working with the tribes. The tribes have really become great partners with California in working on these lands. Governor Newsom signed some back in 2020. I believe he had a policy to return lands to the tribes, or if you didn't return the land to them completely, to set up co-management, co-stewardship of these lands, because a lot of these lands that were taken from the tribes remain as public lands in the hands of the government. So the state has actually been turning over, in some cases, just returning the land back to the tribes for them to manage. And in other cases, they're coming up with agreements to maintain the land together. The tribes have knowledge, what we call traditional ecological knowledge or indigenous knowledge, that's been passed down, through generations, thousands of generations. So they actually know how to manage the land, how to steward the land. They do with cultural burns or prescribed burns. The low level fires. They do other things on the landscape. They know how to tend to it, and California has now recognizes tribal knowledge, indigenous knowledge, as best available science. They elevate it up to the same level as Western science, that we do with the experiments and all that. And so they really are working in partnership to maintain a lot of these lands. And it's really been a good program, I think.
Yep. Well, I think that's important, and I just want to see it be successful and continue and all that. Well, anyway, we're coming up to our commercial break, and I gave you a little speech about Maven's Notebook, but I'm going to reiterate that again because it's really important. So all of you who listen to the show, go out and check mavensnotebook.com. It's really good. It has all these backstories that you probably never hear about or know what's going on, that you can't read anywhere else or talk to anybody about. She has it, and she stays up all night long. I think maybe she gets 30 minutes of sleep every night, but she gets these things done, and they're out first thing. What's the earliest time it's released in the morning? I mean, when I wake up, it's out on my computer.
9.
Yeah,
okay. 9 o'clock I aim for. I used to be a lot more crazy about it. Now I'm kind of like, sleep is good. Yeah, a little bit.
It is. So, but you can go to mavensnotebook.com. Again, you can come as a subscriber for it. It's no cost to you. You get it every day on your laptop, PC, or whatever, your phone. And also, as I said, you can be a sponsor of that, which is a good thing to do. And anything is welcome, and she appreciates that very much. She puts in a lot of time and goes to all these meetings and meets people and gets all the data to have. And it makes it easy for us. So we get a lot of our stuff about what's happening in the water business from her directly, even though I'm in the water industry as well. But I do that for a living as far as my job. But it's important to get other stuff that we don't even touch. So do that. Go there, enjoy it, and I appreciate that from you listeners. You're really good about that. So, Chris, you have a wonderful week in Reno, and you hope you're coming home on the weekend.
Yep.
Okay. Drive slow.
Yep.
Be careful.
Oh, never. Never slow.
Okay. Thanks, and we'll talk to you next week. We appreciate it.
Okay. Good, everyone.
All right, we're going to take a little break and be back with a different kind of featured guest, and it's going to be an interesting conversation. And I'll tell you the backstory when we're back.
Participant is now exiting.
Water is one of the biggest expenses for communities, HOAs, universities, golf courses, and resorts. So keeping those costs under control, especially when rates are increasing while water supplies are being reduced, are often essential to a customer's survival. Managing water requires multiple skills, which is why it's been complicated and difficult until now. AquaTrack brings multiple skills and technologies together to help large system users conserve outdoor water and improve the health of their landscapes. AquaTrack's professionals are certified landscape water managers and certified landscape irrigation auditors. The company offers audit services, upgrade advice, technical expertise, and water use monitoring. We already manage irrigation water for the largest homeowner associations in Arizona, and we're prepared to bring our knowledge and experience to help others, including landscapers and designers. Give us a call and hear how AquaTrack saved one HOA some 430 million gallons of water and $200,000 in annual water expenses. AquaTrack is Arizona-based, and you can reach us at 623-594-8689. That's 623-594-8689.
To navigate your property safely, for added security, or even for beauty, sometimes a path light is all you need. Hi, I'm Sean, one of the coaches on the Site One training team, and today we're going to look at the Pro Trade Path Light. Everything needed for installation comes in the box. Unlike other path lights, the Pro Trade Path Light comes with a rubber gasket which prevents the glass from shattering against the hat. The hat painted white for extra reflection. The Path Light comes with a 2.5 watt lamp. It's available in black, bronze, or brass finish. For more information about your Pro Trade Path Light, come into Site One or see site1.com.
So welcome back to the second half, and thanks for tuning into the Water Zone and sticking around. I have an interesting little story here about our guest. A couple weeks ago, our staff brought to us a email that came in, and it was from this gentleman that says he got our website and our email address, and they wanted to contact us and listen to the show, and they have been doing it. And this gentleman has been listening to it for several weeks, and him and his neighbor, he tells a story of where he moved from and where he's moving to, and he bought a new house, and first time he had a house. But I'm going to let him tell that story a little bit. And so him and his friend had a bunch of questions, and they put them down to us. And I thought, from a homeowner, they're pretty interesting questions, and a lot of people out there listening may have the same issues and concerns and things. So I thought we'd answer them for you. So let me introduce Mr. Alan Lee. Alan, welcome to the Water Zone.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks for having me on the show. We
appreciate that. Give us a little story about how this all came about. That you and your buddy put this together, and wanted to know some more information, and you thought we were a good spot to get it from. Just moved.
We were living up in the Cleveland area, and we moved down to Hudson, Ohio. Nice community. And I got a bargain on what essentially was my first house. So I'd lived in apartments all this time, apartments and condos and low maintenance and all that. So I decided to step up to home ownership in Hudson. But it was not one of the newer places. Needs a little work, and we've got it fixed up. And my neighbor Steve and I began talking about the fact that my lawns weren't in the greatest condition, and really not up to the standards of the rest of the neighborhood. So I started looking into what I should do, and I think one of the issues we faced is the sprinkler system that we've got. I don't zip about sprinkler systems because they were all maintained by the places where I lived before. Now it's all my baby to deal with, and so that was kind of why we got together. Then we heard about your show and downloaded the Podbean thing, and we've been listening. And I'm kind of impressed with the breadth of your subject matter. It's just the name, The Water Show.
I have good
The
breath.
Water Show?
I have good breath.
But boy, you guys cover a lot of ground.
Well, I was just saying, I don't know if you heard me. I said I have good breath. I use good mints.
Okay.
I'll stick to my day job. I should listen to my wife and not try to be a comedian. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
how do you like it?
It's just that. I love where I am. And of course, we're getting into the winter now, but it's still pleasant around there. But and it seems like an odd time, but I got to deal with this, and that is that we finally concluded that the sprinkler system and sprinklering what I do in the yard just isn't really going to be adequate for the next season, and so we're looking into having to replace the whole thing, put in a whole new system, because it's been in there for a while, and I'm not sure that it's all that effective. So that was the first thing. So I guess the first question any homeowner would ask is what's it going to cost me to do it? And how do I calculate what's going to cost to put a new system in?
Good question. And it's a complicated answer, and I'm not trying to skip it, but the price depends on the property size, the landscape complexity, how many zones you have, and the type of components that you're going to use for it. I mean, people can do zero-scape, and they can do drip, they can do spray heads, they can use rotors. But again, how big is the yard? What is it all turf? Does it have bushes or flowers? All of those things make a difference. So what in order to understand what that would cost, you got to have an idea of what you want for your landscape to be. Do you want shrubbery? Do you want flowers? Do you want grass? Do you want hardscape? You need to know that first and have it laid out on a paper so you know exactly what you're doing. Because to take care of watering the lawn, you may use rotors or pop-up sprays. For shrubs, you may use pop-up spray heads. You may use drip. There's all kinds of ways to do this, but you need to know what the design looks like. So I don't know if you can draw up a diagram of what it is and send it to us. We can take a look at it and kind of tell you, how far distance is everything, and we can come up with a basic little plan for you and show you that. And I think there's some programs on the website that does that for free. You can go in and just lay out your design, and it prints out a report and tells you, you're going to need X amount of feet of pipe and things of that, and how close do you need to water. But you got to have a design, and if you're going to stay with what you got, that's okay. But you got to mark it out so we know what you need to know what product you need to get to put it on. So I know it's not that's a complete answer, but it depends on all of those factors to give you a price. Or get a price.
You just hit on something, because you said, what if you just want to kind of go with the design you've got? I mean, it's not bad. It's just not getting watered adequately. Am I going to have to tear the whole thing up and out? I mean, how much damage am I going to have to do to the existing lawn to put a new system in?
It depends. It depends how inadequate the system you have is. For example, if you use pop-up spray heads and you use rotors on turf at the same time, on the same valve, is really what I'm talking about, on the same valve. What that means, it's running together at the same time. The precipitation rate, I don't know if you know what that means. The precipitation rate is what's the rate of water coming out per inch per hour and so forth. And spray heads put out more water than a rotor. Rotors does it more slowly. So I've seen even new home builders that they have plans that they get from their landscape architect, and then the contractor decides he's going to make some money on the deal and kind of cheapen the stuff up and put both on the same line. The problem is one side of the lawn gets soaking wet and the other's dry as a bone. You can't use those together at the same time on the same valve. So again, it depends on what the layout is and what you're going to truly need to that.
Okay. Well, if I wanted to do some self-education on this thing, then can I install one of these? Like, if I want an automatic system with the timers and all the stuff that goes with one of these things, can I install that myself? I mean, can I get instructions somewhere that I could do it on my own?
There's thousands and thousands of videos on the internet to tell you how to do anything you want to do. I mean, it's just incredible. I can tell you every irrigation manufacturer has them, and then landscape contractors put them out, and even homeowners who do it and want to save a bunch of money and do it themselves. Changing even sprinkler heads or the nozzles. There used to be a program a couple of years ago where water agencies were giving away free sprinkler nozzles, and a lot of contractors, they hired contractors to do it. Well, they would charge $5 just to unscrew the nozzle and put another one on. Now, say you got 30 to 60 of those on times $5 a piece. That's a lot of money. So, how long would it take you to unscrew the nozzle? 30 seconds, maybe, and put another one on. So you got to look at what it is. There's digging if you have to redo pipe. If you have cracks or breaks, you have to replace that. So you got to trench those all out. Chris Davey, who was the co-host with me, he's an avid gardener guy. He has beautiful yards, and he grows some vegetable garden in the back and stuff. And he loves that because that's his relaxation on the weekends. So he loves doing that stuff. So it depends how much work you do. There's instructions for everything that you can do for your yard. That you don't have to worry about. It's just, do you have the time? Do you feel good? Are you to an age where it's going to hurt you? I'm to the age where I do everything called HID. Do you know what that is?
Not exactly, no.
It's called hire it done. I don't do it. I play with irrigation stuff every single day and work on designs and things of that sort. I just don't. That doesn't relax me at home because that reminds me of work. And I love work. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy my job, but I don't want to dig in the mud and dirt. I don't think I'm a snob. I went to college, got my 2 degrees, and I just like I don't want to work on cars and get all messed up.
Oh.
So anyway, but yes.
Now, is this irrigation stuff? Is this like the plumbing inside your house where you have to get permits for it? Or can I just do this?
Good question. It depends where you live and depends on the city regulations. It's just like when a builder builds the home, they have to submit a landscape architect plan and an irrigation plan, and there's some guidelines for that. After the house is sold, a lot of places you can do whatever you want after that. Okay, but other places you have to go back and comply to what those policies were when it was built and assembled. So it depends on where you live and what the regulations are.
Okay. I've seen, I think one funny thing I've seen a couple of times, I've seen golf courses and the sprinklers are going and it's raining. So I guess my question is, does an automatic system actually save you any water? Or is it maybe just going to actually spend more water?
Well, God has controls the weather, I'm told. But no, good question. You see sprinklers going off all different times. We usually tell people, you want to water it 1 to 1.5 inches per water per week for the lawns, and with the exact timing depending on the grass type and soil and the climate. It all depends because you have different grasses, different vegetation, different plants, different shrubs, different trees. All of them take different requirements. An automatic timer is a good thing. There's also, there's a lot of those on the market. There's also ones called smart timers, and those are units that are evaluated by the EPA Water Sense program, and it can help reduce your water up to from 20% all the way up to maybe 60%, depending on the brand and how it's programmed. The reason you use the smart controllers is one thing. If you had a regular controller, just a standard old one from years ago that they still sell today, that all it does is turn on and turn off for the amount of minutes that you set it. And say you set it to water every day or every other day, let's say, whatever your forecast that you're going to do, and say you're going to do it 15 minutes every day or every other day, and you go away and you just set it that way. Well, it'll go off every day or every other day the way you set it for the exact amount of time that you said. But in that time period, it will rain. It could rain. So then what are you going to do if you're not home? Well, two things. You could have a rain sensor that you can buy that attaches to most of the regular standard irrigation controllers, or you can run back to your house wherever you are coming from, whether it's overseas or on a vacation, and turn it off, or call your neighbor Steve to have him go by and turn it off. That's the issue. The smart controller supposedly tells you it runs by what's called they call it ET, and it's not the little guys from the spaceship. It's called evapotranspiration, and that takes in consideration the temperature, the humidity, the solar power, and all this other stuff, the wind and humidity, and it sets your controller against a preformed history of weather for your territory, for where you are, and it will automatically adjust. So, for example, if you have one of those systems and it rains, you can also set it to, you want it to be shut off the water that day, but keep it off for a couple days because maybe you had heavy rains and you give it 2 to 3 days to dry up, and then the clock, we call them clocks, it automatically turns it back on and goes to your original scheduling. But what it does, it prevents water from being watered if you don't want it to be. And it gives you water when you need to water, and you need to water. California, when I lived in California, they passed a law, the 1888, and I think that's the one, and it said by so-and-so year, you had to use a smart irrigation controller. They wouldn't allow you to sell, buy a regular old type controller. And for people that were already in homes that had it, regular ones, and they went to change it, you had to buy a smart controller. But that it's still, even though they said it was a law, no, they're not pushing that. I mean, they tell you about it, but nobody's getting in trouble for buying the regular ones, which you can buy any time of day from Lowe's, Home Depot, any landscape supply store. So, automatic sprinklers are good. They always say set it, forget it. But that's a catchy marketing tool. You got to go back and maybe make some slight adjustments as you go along and as your landscape grows.
Okay. Well, overall, what time of day should I be doing this stuff? I mean, do I water at night, water in the morning? What do I do? What's the best time to water?
Well, normally for a lot of places, like where I'm in Arizona, I do from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the morning, because it gets hotter as the day goes, and even into 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, it gets even hotter. I mean, we've had temperatures here a couple of weeks back that were 116 degrees. Now today it was cooler. We had some rains at the beginning of the week, and it was maybe 78 degrees. But it'll be 59 degrees tonight. If you live in I don't know what the temperature is in Ohio. I lived in New Jersey at one time, and I know people try to water their lawn, or maybe they couldn't because there was snow on it. But you don't want to water when it's freezing. In California, there's places that that in not the spring but the autumn, it gets down to freezing temperatures, and you don't want to water at freezing temperature at all. But you don't want to water in the hottest part of the day either, because a lot of those, depending on the sprinkler types that you use, it has lots of little bubbles of water, and by the time it either hits the ground or before it hits the ground, they evaporate. So do it when it's cooler in the morning or in the early evening when it gets back to be cooling, but not down in the freezing temperature modes.
Okay. Well,
hope the whole
you just mentioned No, you raised another thought here, because you talked about freezing, and this is Ohio. So what do I do? Let's say I put a brand new system in there and get it done during October, November, and then it starts to freeze here. What do I do to make sure that sprinkler system is ready to go for the winter?
Well, but there's two parts. Let me answer the first part because it adds to what I just said earlier on the rain. On some of the smart controllers that you can buy, it comes with a temperature sensor and it comes with a rain sensor. It also can come with a wind sensor. So depending on the brand that you buy, that has this little mini, I'll call it mini weather station. And you can set the temperature, the lowest temperature, and say, when it gets to this, you don't turn on the water. And that's a good thing. Then you don't have to go running out and do it. So that's another addition to buying a smart irrigation controller, because they usually have those with that. Or you can buy the accessory to go with other controllers that do that. So now you were asking. Go ahead. You were asking.
Okay. What about the pipes themselves, though, in the winter? Aren't they going to freeze?
Well, they can. They can. When I lived in New Jersey and in Southampton, Long Island, and that was quite a few years ago, I wasn't interested in irrigation. To be honest with you, that wasn't my thing. And but I can tell you with the stuff that I learned, the water can freeze in it. So what you got to do, they call the system winterizing, and a lot of the landscape contractors and homeowners back east understand that term. And since this is your first real home that has a landscape lawn, they call it, you have to blow out the system, usually with compressed air, and you shut off the water supply to it, and you also use compressed air, and you make sure that all the water's out of the valve as well. And when you do that, then there's nothing in it that can freeze the pipes, and you won't have a problem. You won't have a problem with them freezing and bursting or getting cracks. And then you'll have to dig it all up and fix it, and that could be a mess.
Okay. So I could look for like system leaking or something, and maybe that would tell me something was going wrong with the lines or the heads or stuff like that, right?
Yep. There's also another thing you didn't ask about, but I'm going to tell you. If you have a large slope on your property, and when the water goes on and does its thing and then shuts off to go to the next zone, later in the day or soon after, if you go, say at the bottom of that slope and you have a sprinkler head, and say it went down back into the ground, but you see a lot of water in that area, like puddles at that area, that's called low head drainage. And that happens to a lot of people don't understand that. And so what we recommend is if you have a sprinkler body that's at the lower end of the slope, get one that has what's called a check valve that shuts it off. So when it goes, it stops anything coming out of that thing, and it won't let the water escape. Because normally, when you turn the water off on your sprinkler system, it shuts off and moves to the next valve. That water is still there in that pipe. Just like when you go to your faucet in your bathroom or kitchen, you turn the water on. How soon does the water come out? Instantly, right? And that's the same thing. Mm-hmm. Water is right there. So if you have a regular spray body that doesn't have a check valve in it, it'll leak. It'll drain the water out, and then when you turn the water on again, the next cycle, it has to replace all that water that came out. So you're paying double for the water on that one line. So,
it's what you're telling me. It sounds like I better get myself a pro to do this, because I've got a guy that cuts my lawns, but when it comes to asking about landscaping and this kind of this technology you're talking about, I just say, well, he mows lawns really well.
Yeah, we call him mow and blow. What you should ask him, though, are they a certified irrigation auditor or any of that? Because through the Irrigation Association, I don't know if you were listening at the beginning, they have a trade show coming up. It's going to be in New Orleans this year. And a lot of people go in the industry, I mean, mostly that, but you also get a lot of homeowners and people who really are interested in that. It's good to know what they're talking about when they come back to you. For example, if you have a valve that's leaking, and the guy comes up and says, yeah, you got a leaking valve, got to replace it. Well, you got to ask them a couple of questions. Where's it leaking from? Because if there's some little dirt or little tiny mini pebbles that go and get caught underneath the dome, and by that, what I mean, there's like a rubber deal that shuts it off. And if you have a little piece of dirt or a little tiny mini rock that's under it, it doesn't close. So water is going to come out and leak, or the body could be cracked. You never know. So it's really important to understand and get a little bit more knowledge in irrigation. That, you should walk around. He should walk around and test the system every time he's there to make sure there's no leaks. Make sure that they put the spray bodies in the ground properly so they're not sticking up and the mower chops it off and you get these geysers. And then if that happens and you have a spray body that has a check valve, as I mentioned for the low head drain, it prevents those 30-feet geysers. It just shuts the water off to that. So get a book. Get a simple book. You can get it from the Irrigation Association. I don't maybe some libraries would carry that, but they have a bookstore for the Irrigation Association, and it's good to know some answers to the questions ahead of time, so you can be so nobody fools you and charges you a bunch of money for something that's simple. So anyway,
okay.
As you can see, there's a lot to know.
There is, and now it's terrifying.
I hear you.
Well, okay. So let me. This automatic shift you're talking about. These are little. They're just popping in my head as I'm sitting here. If I had a system that wouldn't turn on or wouldn't turn off, you set it up in the box. This happens. Let me explain why I asked this question. This happens to me with a lot of other electrical things that I work on, whether it be lawn lights or my little waterfall or anything else. It's all set up, and then you hit the switch and nothing happens. Or you hit the switch and try to turn it off, and nothing happens. It keeps running. What's going on there? Because electricity always seems to throw me.
A couple things. Well, I can tell you what that could be. It could be something wrong with the controller that's wired incorrectly, or you have a malfunctioning solenoid on top of the valves. You could also have a broken valve or a faulty controller. Those are the things that could happen. Sometimes they wire it up and the wires come loose, or little critters get in there like spiders and bugs and things, and they do their little things and can put some damage to it. So those are the things to do. You need to know about that all the connections are tight and they're all in there, and also have them labeled properly. So you know that on valve, well, say you have 12 valves in your yard, and that means you have 12 plug connections that you got to make. You got to make sure you have a little piece of paper. It's like your breaker box outside. You have them labeled. This is for the kitchen. This is for the bathroom. This is for the den. This is for the laundry room. Do the same thing for the sprinkler system, or have your landscaper do it or gardener do it. Have them tell you on a piece of paper, station number 1 is the front yard turf. Station number 2 is the shrubs in the front yard. Number 3 is something else, and that way you can trace it back to those things, because maybe it popped off. Maybe that's how you look at it. It's pretty simple.
Is that what you were talking? Is that what you were talking about when you were talking about zones?
Yes.
You talked about zones earlier.
Yeah.
So that's what that. It's the different parts of your yard that you water at a given time.
Right.
Or in a given order, you mean. Okay.
Right.
All right. Okay. Well, you've done a great job. I'm not sure that I have. I have my questions written down. I think you pretty much knocked them out here.
Well, I thought when I got the email, they brought it to me, and I thought, you know what, this is pretty nice that you took the time and thought your neighbor about the show, and gave you the information to do that. You said it was on Podbean. You can get them on 17 different media platforms, or you can get it live if you go to kcaaradio.com and they broadcast it live. You can see it. But it's important to know, what you're looking for, and that you ask the right questions. I mean, you can go to water districts and they can give you some help and information. Sometimes they come out and do free audits on your lawn. Check that out. That may help you, and they can point out some things that are bad. They can give you a free audit. That'll be well worth it. Because if you got a mow and blow guy and he's not that certified or qualified into doing that, these other water agencies do that sometimes for free. So check that out. There's also rebates back. In a lot of cases for the smart irrigation stuff, and different kind of spray bodies with being pressure regulated, things of that sort, and have check valves. Check with your local water district. They can tell you what they can do. But again, you can go to the Irrigation Association and look in their bookstore and see what they have. But I think it'd be interesting and good for you to know a little bit more about, so when somebody comes and talks to you about it, they can't fool you and jack your bill up to some ridiculous amount of money. So thank you for taking the time to do this. And again, we never did this before, but I thought this would be something pretty interesting because we got a lot of people that are in the business listen, and a lot of people who who listen are just regular old folks, and they need to learn. So we do appreciate that. So thanks for joining us.
Great. I took a lot of notes. A lot of notes.
All right. Well, we got to give up the time for NBC News, or they'll choke me to death. So. Thank you very much, and listeners, thanks for tuning in. And remember, if you like green, you've got to have blue. Good night, everybody.
NBC News on KCAA Loma Linda.